Hey, what's up everyone? Today we're going to be following on from last week's video where we removed the engine, and now we're going to be prepping the engine bay to do all the modifications needed. So we're going to start by stripping everything out, cleaning up, grinding back where necessary, where seam welds are going to be, which is going to be in another video, so I can do a bit of a how-to on the welding. And yeah, today it's going to be a long video, but I just thought we'd get cracking on, show you what we've got and go from there. Right, first off we're going to start by taking these joints off the steering rack. The reason I can't take them off the other ends is that the ball joint has split out the taper before the nut come undone and it's stuck. I don't particularly want to cut it yet until I can make sure I've got the bits for it. So if I undo it here I can slide that out that way. So yeah, we'll crack on and get these undone. Right, now that the steering arms are undone, this one will come out when the strut's taken off from this side, which I'll show a little bit later on. Now the plan is to take the steering rack off itself. Right, now the universal joint that's behind there, it's like on a spline, that's undone and it's been pulled away. I'll show you that once I've got it out. It'll be easy to do, so it's quite cramped around the other side. Just a little tip, I know there's a few people out there watching that already know this, when it comes to undoing bolts that haven't been done for a while, it's always good to have some WD-40 or some form of penetrating oil. It does help. Right, so now we're ready to remove the steering rack. There's a few brake pipes that are clipped on here. The plastic on here has gone brittle, so you will see pieces breaking off. And I can't see the tab where you can normally release it. It's just gone completely brittle. But remove those, so we'll get these nuts undone off here for the clamps. And in theory, get the steering columns off the spline in the footwell. This should pull out. But I'm sure you'll see me struggle, because I can pretty much guarantee it's the first time this steering rack's ever been out. I've got to see if I can find a bloody socket. Success. It's on a 1/2 inch drive, but I'll do. Oh, that's better. Save me knuckles. Right. I know it does look a shame here to remove these brake pipes because they are the original ones, but underneath they have started to go rotten, so these are all being replaced with copper pipes, and I'll run them in a different way so they look a bit neater, because like the whole engine bay is going to look different. So at this moment in time they just need to be out of the way. Right, time for a pry bar. There we go. That's not wanted to move for a while. This is the other thing, with the throttle cable incorporated in here. And if I'm perfectly honest, it looks like it's going to come off the throttle. The actual throttle pedal to come out. Right, okay, I went into the engine bay and actually found out it was the clutch cable. rather than the throttle cable, because the throttle cable's here up in front of me. I should have seen that. So that is steering rack off. Right, onto the master cylinder. Right, now with these brake pipe unions, 9 times out of 10 they are an 11mm. You normally get the 10mm on the Japanese stuff. You can get a proper brake pipe union spanner, and it's just got a slot in it like a ring span. Like in here, it has a little slit, so you can slide it over the pipe and it goes round. Like I said, I forgot most of my tools today because on Friday I wanted to get back from work quite quickly. So I've got a normal spanner. They should be okay. They don't look too corroded, but as before, plenty of WD-40 always helps. Look at that. Oh, sound. That has just made my life a bit easier because I didn't want to have to be cutting brake pipes, and I know these brake pipes are coming off anyway, but cutting them, and then I want something to measure to, and it's just, I don't like doing it. I like to undo it as they should be. Right then guys, so we've got the master cylinder off and we've got the steering rack off. We've just pushed some of the wiring loom through with the grommets. So now it is a case of getting rid of the rest of the brake lines, and there's also a couple of fuel lines that come up here which I need to move because I've got to get the grinder out, and of course fuel and sparks from a grinder don't go well, so I'm going to make sure that's clean and out of the way. And yeah, so pretty much going on to cleaning the engine bay out and getting the grinder out and getting some linishing done. Right, I'm in a bit of a predicament now. My initial plan was to cut the rain tray out so I could have a smoother bay, more space to fit things in. But the problem I've got is that on the rain tray, obviously there's a few things that are attached to it, but I can make brackets for them. That's not the issue. The VIN number for the car is actually on the rain tray. I've seen people do this, but now I work at a garage and it's MOT testing station and everything like that. I'm going to check with them to see what the ins and outs are of moving the VIN plate, because I don't want to go moving it, welding it on, and they go, oh no, that's not in the place it should be, if ever I had it tested somewhere where they didn't know the car or anything like that. So I don't think I'll be removing the rain tray just yet, so I've got plenty more to do before that. But yeah, if anybody else knows about this, or if you've done it, leave us a comment. It might be able to shed some light on the situation. So yeah, so that's the problem at the moment. Right then guys, pretty much everything is now out of the engine bay that I need to be out of there, and the plan is now all of this seam sealer right here, if the camera will focus, these little dimples here, that's just spot welding, that's how the car is put together. And what we want to do is seam weld along here, so it's just keeps everything tight, and it'll be the same along the chassis rail here. Like these little lugs and stuff, they're no longer needed, they can come off. And I think one of the bracing plates, as well as having a strut brace, I'm going to have 2 pieces of tubing, suitable tubing, going from the strut tower itself down to here, so it sits in an angle, so the force rocking back and forth when the new engine's in should hopefully be carried out throughout the rest of it, and rather than it just putting all the stress here, and that's when we end up with splits and cracks and stuff, which we don't want. Now, before I go any further, obviously I'm going to be using a grinder. I'm going to be using a flap wheel disc on it, which is like an abrasive pad, lots of pieces of like sandpaper on it. The most important thing is, most of you already know this, but I have to put it out there in case anybody tries to copy doing this. It's always important to wear safety goggles. Also use some ear protection. Now I'm using the earbuds because I haven't got my earmuffs with me, but earmuffs are much better. The other thing is also to wear a mask. I've got to go and get the mask in a second, but it stops you breathing in any of the nasty stuff that comes off from it. So, I mean, it will be burning off seam sealer and paint and stuff. It's not going to be nice breathing it in. Also, another important thing is if you're going to be using anything that's going to be emitting a spark or any sort of heat, it's always important to keep either a bucket of water, sand, or even better, a fire extinguisher, just in case anything was to go wrong. I've got all three set up outside, so if anything happens on here, you'll see me come across with a fire extinguisher first. Obviously, if things go wrong, everything will be getting chucked on it. I've encountered a problem with this mask and goggle setup. It gets a bit foggy. Right then guys, I think that's pretty much drawn it to a close today. It's starting to get a bit late, and using the grinder too much, I don't want to start annoying anybody. So, a bit of an overview. I've got the strut towers ready, so I can seam weld them. I've got down the chassis seam weld. There's a couple of bits that I found that needed welding, where there's going to be some extra bracing put in. Like here, where the pieces meet, I'm going to have a piece that I'm going to make. I'll make that in the week at work, and then that's going to go into there, from there to there, just to flitch it in, and it'll be the same the other side. I haven't got the under seal off, but like I was saying earlier, like about breathing this stuff in, it is, I'll see if I can get some better. It is horrible stuff. It bogs the grinder down, it's on that thick. I mean, it's good because the car hasn't rusted, you know. It was a good idea by Volkswagen to do this, but to remove it's an absolute pig. I'm going to have to go in there with a scraper and a Stanley blade and get the rest out for final prep. Now, with this, I know the garage is pretty dry, and I'll be coming back to it within a couple of weeks, a couple of days to within a week. But the important thing is, if you're leaving bare metal like this, especially this time of the year, it's always handy to put some primer over it, you know, just to stop the rust coming through. But also remember as well that primer is porous, so don't leave it for too long just with primer, you know. So yeah, next step is making the flitches. There'll be a video on there. Next video of seam welding this, that'll be a bit of a basic introduction to welding, and obviously viewing this and how I've seen most of the cars that have been prepped for race, they don't go completely all the way around continuous. I mean, some do. If you've got a TIG, it's much easier, but I'm using a MIG, so I'm going to be going along in like 2-inch bursts, which is going to be more than enough, especially with the extra bracing that I'm putting in. And I've got to find out about this scuttle panel, because after looking, there is I've got a plate on the front of the car. But I'll only show you part of this. I don't want people having my VIN number. And it's stamped on. So I'll find out about that before I cut this rain tray out. I really want it out, to be honest. I think it'll help with giving me room and be able to mount stuff a bit more freely and neatly. So yeah. Right then guys, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I've now sussed out Twitter. I'm on there more regular now. Instagram is still going. There'll be some photos going up of this later today. Please remember to like and subscribe. New videos every week to 2 weeks. There may be some sooner with just little fill-in ones, and there will be, like some people have asked, there will be a how to rat look video coming up soon as well. That will be focusing on how to get a rust effect on your car. So cheers guys, thanks for watching. Bye.